Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to talk about a brand new game. It came out yesterday called Dangerous Driving. Now, if you, like me, really liked the old Burnout series, not so much the Burnout Paradise, but the original three, this has been something that's been on certainly on my radar for a long time, and it probably has been yours as well. It's made by a studio called Three Fields Entertainment, and that's actually headed up by the guys from Criterion, who were the developers behind the original Burnout series. So you've got to take this release reasonably seriously. Obviously it is only a small developer, but at the same time with that team behind them, you'd expect this to be pretty good. And after watching lots of YouTube reviews and people sort of giving their early thoughts on the game, it looked like it was going to be really good. But after playing it for a little while, I think they're either smoking crack or maybe they're getting paid to actually advertise this game, because it's not living quite up to the hype that they're spreading around about it. Now, I try and stay pretty positive when it comes to games, and there's lots of bad games out there that I've played, and I've actually had a lot of enjoyment out of them. But we have to bear in mind that this has been released at £25 in the UK here. So yeah, it's not a full price release, but at the same time it's definitely not cheap. So you're expecting something half decent. So what I'm going to do in this very brief video is just chat to you about what I have found in the first few hours of playing this game. I feel like my opinion is going to be a very honest opinion. Certainly I've not been paid to play this game. I've not been sent any free copies or anything like that. This is just my opinion of what I've found, and obviously the video that I've put up as well is going to show you some of these things that I've seen whilst playing it for the first few hours. So when you first boot up the game, you are met with an incredibly simple menu system. It looks pretty terrible, to be perfectly honest with you. Certainly you can tell that it's a budget release straight off the bat. From what I've heard from other YouTubers, I understand that the developers are going for an old school feel to this, a bit like the original Burnout series. However, you could still implement a menu system that looks a little bit better than this. It's like they've just gone for the most basic font over an image, and that's it. It's the kind of thing you see on a £5 release rather than something you're paying this kind of money for. So instantly it does make you wonder how much effort has gone into this, and it doesn't exactly fill you with confidence as you load it up. It certainly didn't me after just spending that money. I did question what I was doing. But it's when you start navigating that menu, you realise just how little there is to this game, and it's quite alarming, to be honest with you. You have got leaderboards, you can see how well you're doing against people in your local area and things like that. You have got a tour mode, which is effectively your single player campaign. Within that, all you're actually trying to do is unlock the later parts of the campaign, which is in the form of different cars. So you start off with sedans unlocked, then it's going to be SUVs, coupes, supercars, hypercars, and that's followed by the formula cars. Now obviously they are going to get quicker as you progress through the game. It will become a little bit harder, but in terms of a multiplayer aspect, it's very basic. And considering they're talking about this is supposed to be nostalgic and all about Burnout, there's no split screen mode, which is something in my opinion that should definitely be there, and was half of the entertainment within the first games, was sitting with your mates and playing against each other. With the cars you're unlocking as well, there is very little in the way of customization. In fact, all you can actually do is change the colours, and with those colours they're all presets too, so you can't even choose what you want. You just have to go through what they've got as a preset, select it, and that is the end of your customization. Maybe that's just me, maybe it won't bother you, but I just find it really disappointing. And even in the cheapest of games these days, it feels like you can normally customise your vehicle to a certain extent. Even if they just gave you a very basic sticker pack to be able to put on the cars, I think that would have made a world of difference, and surely shouldn't have been too hard to implement. But that's enough about the menus. Let's get into the real reason we're all here, and that's the gameplay. Does it feel like a traditional Burnout game? Yes, to a degree it does. It just feels very dated by today's standards. The one thing I will say and pick out very early on is the sense of speed. Now that is fantastic. There's no arguing that. It feels like you're going a million miles an hour the whole time, and there is always a threat of oncoming traffic, which is going to come and ruin your day. So that side of it, yes, they've nailed it. It feels very much like a traditional Burnout, and it's definitely the best part of the game in my opinion. Unfortunately, that is where my praise ends. There seems to be a very large problem with the collision detection, and the collision detection is probably the biggest part of this game. Bearing in mind, for the most part, you are trying to smash other cars out of the way, cause them to have accidents so you can gain positions and points. But unfortunately, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. There seems to be, like I say, no consistency within the game when it comes to this. You can hit a barrier at full speed 1 minute and you'll just continue going. and the next minute you'll do it and your car will have a massive accident. It will cost you the race. Equally with the traffic as well, sometimes you can graze them, it won't cause an accident. The next time you graze them, suddenly you're spinning around all over the place. So I'm not entirely sure what is going on with that, but unfortunately it does put a huge downer on the game itself, especially when it's such a large part of it. Another big thing that you can't fail to miss is the number of glitches. Now, within my first hour, I'd probably spotted 5, and they weren't little. We're talking about, you know, your car going through the map and just falling into nothingness, effectively. So what I never understand, and this isn't just this game, is these games are tested before they're put out to the public. Yet they still get released in this sort of state, and it does make you question what's going on. Is it just a matter of we need to get this out and make some money? Doesn't matter if it doesn't work particularly well, let's just see who buys it, because it does feel a little bit like that with this. So yeah, there's a big one where you have an accident and your car just starts falling and falling from the map. Certainly there's a lot of invisible wall issues and cars just flying through the sky as well. But the main one that really irritated me was after having a big crash. It then resets the car obviously to the track for you to continue the race, but it reset me behind a wreck and it instantly just crashed me again, so you fall even further behind the pack. And when it affects the gameplay like that, I just don't think it's acceptable. But yeah, I mean, I'd be interested to hear down in the comment section whether anyone else has experienced this, but it does feel a little bit like the game is completely unfinished and shouldn't be out on the market yet. And while I'm talking about that, I have got one question. Now, if you've played this game, what is going on with the barriers? Every single barrier, whether you're taking a left-hand corner or a right-hand corner, is pointing to the left. And it's throughout the whole game. To start with, I thought it was maybe just that opening level. They just made a mistake with it. But it's the entire game. It's like they couldn't be bothered to flip the arrow round when you're heading right. And considering the game is going so quickly all the time, the amount of times you smash into a barrier because you're just looking up ahead, there's a left arrow, you think, yeah, I'm going to go left here, and suddenly it's a right-hand corner. It's ridiculous. I can't believe that nobody's noticed this before it was actually released to the public. It just seems crazy. But maybe it's just me. I mean, let me know down in the comment section if that doesn't just irritate you if you are playing this game. But it's just one of those things. It's another part of this game that's just not finished, and it's annoying at the price you're paying for it. Another massive part of the Burnout series was always the music. It was always lively, it kept you engaged, you know, it was all down to the speed, and it just felt right. And this game has absolutely none, which may come as a surprise. It did to me. You're literally racing around with no music whatsoever. But what they have implemented here is Spotify. So if you have got a Spotify account, you can link that onto the game, and using the D-pad you can actually scroll through your tracks, and you know, that's going to work well if you've got Spotify. But it is a very big assumption from the developers here, because I don't have Spotify, so I'm left playing it in silence, or you have to put some music on a stereo or whatever. But it just feels very unnatural not having any music whatsoever. If you've got Spotify Premium, that's great, and I'm sure it'll work really well. You can set up a playlist that's going to suit the game really nicely. Even load up some old Burnout music, why not, and use that while you're playing. So yeah, if you've got Spotify, that's great. If not, unfortunately, you're going to miss out. And it just seems a little bit much to expect the people that have already paid for the game to also have then a monthly subscription for music access as well. But I am picking here. At the end of the day, some people will have it, some people won't. It might not bother certain people, but it does just it feels like it's lacking slightly by not having a proper soundtrack that's certainly in keeping with the speed of the game. So my overall thoughts, well, you've probably picked up on most of it from my video. I'm normally quite a positive guy, and like I said before, there's plenty of bad games out there that I really enjoy. And I guess to a degree, there are elements of this that are fun. The speed's great. When you do link up some, you know, some crashes and you're taking out opponents like that, it can be pretty fun. Don't get me wrong. However, it does feel very samey. Even over a 2-hour period, you'll start to realise that ultimately what you're doing is the same thing over and over again, just trying to access new cars that you can't customise and you can't do anything with. I guess the biggest part is that it just feels very unfinished, and like not a lot of love or care has gone into it. And my biggest issue was the fact that I was watching so many videos on YouTube saying how great it was, and I just don't feel like these people are actually giving an honest opinion. I mean, maybe they are, maybe they do really like it, but it just didn't feel like they really were, and I was just concerned that a lot of people are going to rush out and buy it down to what they've seen. And the reality is it's not living up to that sort of hype, and certainly for the price, like I say, it's not a full price release by any stretch, but at the same time, at £25, it feels way too expensive for what you're getting. And if you are wanting to pick it up, I really would strongly recommend you hold on. And if I hadn't have bought it and I knew this information before I had, I think I wouldn't have paid more than £5 for it. And I think £4.99 is a sensible price point for this game, especially when you look at some of the other games on offer at that price point. You think Trials Rising came out a few weeks back now at the same price as this released at, and it's infinitely better in my opinion. And I know that's not going to be the opinion of everyone. There'll be lots of you out there that don't like Trials Rising, but ultimately it's a much more polished experience. It's a lot more challenging, and yeah, it just feels like a finished game where this doesn't. So I know I've gone quite hard in on this game, but I felt like I needed to get my points across, and hopefully a few of you will pick up on that and it might help some of you out. That's ultimately all I wanted to do, was just to pre-warn you before you do what I did, spend a lot of money on it and then realise it's really not quite as good as everyone's making out. But I would like to hear down in the comment section your thoughts on it. Certainly if you've been playing it, it would be great to hear what you think of it and whether you feel the same way I have. But equally, whether you were planning to pick the game up and you might not now, or whether you're going to wait until the price drops. But yeah, anything like that, just have a chat down in the comment section. It'd be great to hear your thoughts. Thanks ever so much for swinging by the channel. Make sure you subscribe for future content. It's not always like this. Honestly, I am normally much more positive than I have been today. But I'll see you all on the next one.